The Boston Celtics pull out a close one against the Indiana Pacers, 133 to 128 in overtime. Trevon, this game came down to the wire. So, what are your thoughts on game one?
I think that it was pretty much right there for the taking for both teams. The Celtics got out to that 12-0 run pretty quickly. We saw them be very aggressive on both ends of the floor. Even Joe Mazzulla with his challenge. He used to challenge just 36 seconds into the game. And I think he really wanted to make sure that the Pacers did not see the ball go in. But that really did not last for that long because we know that the Pacers can get rolling quickly on offense, and they did just that. You would think that after a very long game 7 series that the Pacers would kind of come in a little winded and, tired, fatigued, but they clearly carried that confidence over with them over into Boston. It helps that they didn't have to travel that far. They were probably able to stay around in that same area. So I think they came into this game believing that they could win and still believing that they could steal the game on the road. And I think it's just a testament to how much the Pacers are really just adapting to this playoff setting. With Tyrese Halliburton only being 24 years old and it being his first playoff run, he's playing like a seasoned vet. We're seeing him really lead this squad, and everybody else is just continuing to stay confident. Miles Turner had a big game. Pascal Siakam was reliable. Big plays from Aaron Naismith and Andrew Nembhard doing their thing. TJ McConnell is going to compete on both ends of the floor. So I think it was very impressive of the Indiana Pacers, but the Celtics, man, like we said last video, they're basically a shoe-in to give you a game. And with the style of play that they have, I think they always leave a window open for the opposing team to kind of take a lead or hang around in the game. They love those three-pointers. You would love to see them be a lot more assertive and intentional with getting closer to around the basket. That's when they got on their runs, when they were doing some off-ball screens or getting to the basket instead of settling for jump shots. So I think this series really lies in the Celtics' hand of how bad do they want to just try to get this series over with and play the right way instead of just having free flowing. We know it's a equal opportunity offense where a lot of teams have their hierarchy on offense and they're knowing who they're going to, who's going to have the ball in late game situations. And I think more times than not, we see the Celtics in those situations and we don't really know how it's going to go. It could be in any of the players' hands. And I think that's something that can always come back and bite them in the butt. And I think once this series gets over to Indiana, I think we're really going to tell how the rest of the series is going to go.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Indiana. I've been impressed with Indiana this whole playoff run. They got out to a slow start, but once they saw that first basket go in, things just started to click. In the first half, they were really shooting the basketball very well, especially when they went on that run. And in the second half, they went on another run after getting down by about like 12 or 14 to take the lead, actually going into like 10 seconds left in the fourth quarter. But there were a lot of turnovers and bounces that went the Celtics' way. And Jaylen Brown hit that three in the corner to tie the game. And once it went to overtime, Halliburton hit that 1-3 to get things started. But the Boston Celtics shot better and executed on the offensive end better in overtime. And that's how they won the game. But yeah, the Indiana Pacers are showing why they are a threat to the Boston Celtics. And they continue to create advantages for themselves on the offensive end and mismatches, especially with that screen and roll with Evan Turner and Tyrese Halliburton and TJ McConnell. He was great this game as well. So I think it was a really good move by Coach Mazzulla and the Boston Celtics to switch Al Horford off of Evan Turner and have him guard Pascal and have Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum guard Miles Turner, because when the Pacers want to put Horford in that screen and roll, it allowed Horford to be able to recover better to Siakam because he's not popping out as far as Miles Turner is to the 3-point line. So I think that was a really good adjustment by the Celtics. But throughout the course of the game, the Pacers just continued to create mismatches, create advantages, and actually they created a lot more quality looks than the Boston Celtics did throughout the course of the game. But from the Boston Celtics side, I give them this analogy. This is who I compare them to. the Boston Celtics are that student in school that waits till the last second to complete all their work, but they get it done a lot of
Mhm.
the times just because they are talented or they are that smart.
That's smart.
But
Yeah.
every now and again, they don't get that assignment turned in at 12 a.m., right? Or
Yeah.
whenever the due
11:59.
date is. Yeah, 11:59. They don't get that assignment turned in because of one thing or the other, some bad luck here or there. So it can come back to bite them in the butt. I was just frustrated with the Boston Celtics throughout this whole game. Like you said, their brand of basketball, how they play, it just allows teams to stay in the game and it allows teams to come back from large deficits and a lot of turnovers and a lot of ill-advised shots, to be honest with you. Their offense can get stagnant sometimes and they just don't create a lot of high quality looks with
Mhm.
actions. It's more of space out and go to work. So I think that's what allowed the Pacers to stay in the game. The Boston Celtics got pretty large leads. They just gave them up due to, like I said, turnovers and shooting the ball a little too quick, taking sidestep three pointers when you probably shouldn't. So that's one thing to keep an eye on throughout this series. I think the Boston Celtics did a good job in fighting and grinding out this win and ultimately pulling it out in the end. But at the end of the day, they did what they were supposed to do. They got game one. And honestly, like you mentioned before, I thought the Pacers were going to come in with a little less energy coming off of game seven. That's usually how things go when a team is coming off of game seven and another team has had a few days of rest. That team that had rest comes out pretty strong, and the team that coming off that game seven is a little lackadaisical in game one. Kind of what happened to the Cavs in the last series with the Boston Celtics. And the Boston Celtics did what they were supposed to do. It didn't go how I thought it would, but I'm looking forward to game two because that's when the Boston Celtics usually drop a game. So I think the Pacers are going to come out with a lot of energy and try and get game two.
Yeah, definitely. And that point that you made about the energy, and sometimes it can also go the other way where the team that has played more games or went to game seven, they're more in a rhythm because they've been playing. Boston hasn't played since Wednesday of last week, and today was Tuesday. So that's almost a week that they haven't played like live action basketball. So we saw that kind of low level of focus, not the high level energy. I think that's another thing about the Celtics. Even though with their play style, I also think that they didn't play with the level of consistent energy that they needed to play with. They played in spurts, but they didn't keep that level of consistency up. Another point I like what you said was the Horford pick and roll defensive scheme. They were doing a lot of drop coverage. It was really killing the Boston Celtics defensively because Miles Turner was popping for three. He was also doing short roll pull ups. Siakam excelled in that short roll pull up as well and catching one jab pull up on Horford a lot. But like you said, it's a better matchup for him because Horford doesn't have to cover as much space. Pick and roll has been one of the hardest things that players have said is to guard just because of the angles and separation they can possibly create. So with a guy like Horford, who is a little bit older, not super fast, for him to help kind of soft drop coverage and kind of contain the ball handler, then to recover out to the popper, that's just enough in itself. And then you have to deal with the skill set once you're finally able to get there in the space of the offensive player. And just with the range that Miles Turner has, that's going to be a struggle for him. Then also Siakam has ability to knock down those threes. If he gets hot one night, then you're possibly looking at having to put Horford on another person. And then also his mid-range post game that Siakam was excelling at tonight. That's something you're going to have to worry because he is capable of hitting those shots. We know what he did in Toronto all those years. But yeah, it's going to be exciting. I think Missoula is really going to have to make some adjustments. I think that's something he has struggled with. Granted, last season was his first season and first time being the head coach, especially in the playoffs, of course. So I think the Pacers should walk away with this game confidently from looking at it with their side. And all they got to get is one game. Like you said, we know the Celtics are basically a shoe-in to give you one, and it's typically a game at home. and just go back to Indiana with the momentum on your side, where you know you're very confident that you'll get a game at home as well. The Celtics have a better roster, but I feel like Indiana plays as a better team. They actually use each other and come off of screens or actions, pin downs, and it's like full speed. It's not lackadaisical how you see with the Celtics a lot of times. They ended the first half with 22 assists. That's a big number, and they just continue to play off of each other. And I think that's a better recipe for success over the long haul, especially over the course of the game. You could just tell that the Pacers going to be there all night, and the Celtics got lucky, man. They snuck away with one. Yeah, props to JB for hitting that tough corner three.
Yeah, the Pacers, they had a chance to win this game, but the Boston Celtics pulled it out. And, like I said before, I'm really looking forward to game two because we all know with the Boston Celtics, that's been the game that they've given up in this playoff run so far. And with the Pacers coming off that game seven, coming into game one, I expected the Boston Celtics to win. I did not expect it to be this close though. I thought the Boston Celtics would win this game by more points, but shout out to the Pacers for making it close. And I think this game too, the Boston Celtics need to be ready. I think this is a pivotal game because going back to Indiana, I think it's just going to be that much tougher to beat the Pacers in Indiana. So game two, I think it's going to be a pivotal game here. And then once it goes to Indiana, that's gonna be the test for the Boston Celtics.